Welcome to the Extension Network. I'm Courtney Brissy, your County Extension A&R agent. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about some upcoming A&R programs and then give you a hands-on demonstration of how to properly prune and propagate herbs in your garden. The first program coming up is our Water Management Workshop on May 15th from 9 to 3:30 at 662 South Cobb Drive. Water conservation is a big concern, especially in urban areas. It is a limited resource and we should use it wisely. As the population increases, the demand for water increases. Outdoor water use can account for 50% or more of the total water use for a home during the summer months. Studies have shown that homeowners who have automated irrigation systems often apply too much water too frequently. The objective of this program is to help educate participants about how to properly manage water irrigation systems to reduce unnecessary water use. Participants will learn about efficiencies of impact sprinklers, drip irrigation systems, how to develop irrigation water management plans, and a hands-on activity assembling basic irrigation systems. This is a free event organized and sponsored by the University of Georgia College of Agriculture and Environmental Sciences, the USDA, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, and Fort Valley State University Extension. Please call the Cobb County Extension Office to register for the workshop. The second program I'd like to talk about is our new 4-H land judging team. Georgia 4-H land judging prepares youth to protect and improve land through leadership training and a state competition. This program gives youth an appreciation for soil and an opportunity to learn about soil structure, erosion, soil classification, and proper land treatments. Georgia 4-H land judging teaches youth how to evaluate soils and understand the best land uses in a fun, hands-on environment. Land judging is all about doing. Youth will determine soil properties by getting their hands dirty. Cobb County will train a junior team with students in 4th to 8th grade and a senior team with students in 9th to 12th grade. We will hold practice weekly this summer starting on July 11th before competing in the state competition at the end of August. Team members will prepare for the competition through hands-on learning in the Extension office and go on field trips to look at soil profiles found throughout Cobb County. Registration for land judging is now open. To register or for more information, give us a call at the Extension office. Now let's talk about pruning your herbs. Here I have a chocolate mint plant. Pruning of herbs is done for several reasons. First is the overall health and appearance of the plant. Without pruning, the plant becomes spindly rather than maintaining a nice bushy form. The second reason to prune your herbs is to create a more productive plant. By pruning your mint plant, you'll continue to produce larger leaves and more stems. Lastly, pruning keeps the flavor of the leaves at its peak. Once an herb starts to produce flowers, the flavor becomes bitter and milder, which is not what we want from our herbs. To prune a mint, you want to make sure that the stem you're pruning is at least 6 inches long and has 6 sets of leaves. So for example, on this plant, my 2 biggest stems are the ones that I'm going to prune today, and you want to make sure that you go down at least 6 sets of leaves. Now with a plant like this, the leaves are opposite. So for each set, you're going to count these 2 leaves. So I would count from the top, 1, 2, 3. But I'm actually going to leave quite a bit more on this plant because these leaves up here at the top are much smaller. Now when I go to make my pruning cut, on this one in particular, you can see it's already started to develop some shoots here near the bottom. So those are going to come out and form 2 new shoots from there. So I don't want to cut those off. Those are what I'd like to be my new shoots. So I'm going to cut about a 1/2 inch above there. You can use pruners like I've got, or you can simply use scissors to make your pruning cuts. Keep in mind that if you prune somewhere that you haven't started getting 2 new sprouts like I have here, you are going to get 2 new sprouts from every single place that you cut. That's how it increases the production of your plant, by increasing the number of stems that you have growing. Now on this other tall one, I'm going to do the same thing. It's got 2 shoots that have already started to come out right here. So I'm going to go just above that, about a 1/2 inch, and cut that one off as well. Mint should be pruned approximately every 3 weeks. Now with pruning your herbs every 3 weeks though, you may not know what to do with the excess. There are several things you can do. You can either preserve them for using later, or you can propagate new plants, which is what I like to do. To preserve your excess mint, you would simply bundle your cuttings together and hang them upside down in a dim, dark room. So you just take them like this, put a rubber band or a piece of string at the bottom, and just hang them like that in a dark place. Let them dry out. Once they're completely dry, after a couple of weeks, You can then store the leaves in a sealed, dry container and keep them in a dark place to preserve that flavor. Now, to propagate your new plants, which you can then give away to friends and family, it only requires a few extra steps. Mint is extremely easy to propagate. First, you want to remove any leaves near the bottom of the cutting and make sure that you still have 6 sets of leaves at the top of the stem. That's because you don't want these leaves down in the water, because we're going to put this in water for it to produce its roots. So I'm just going to go ahead and gently pull off all of these leaves near the bottom. I'm going to do it on this one as well. So then you just take your 2 cuttings and you get yourself a little glass of water and put them right in there, making sure that you don't have any leaves down in the water. And then sit that on a nice sunny windowsill, and you're going to wait for your roots to start growing. You want to change the water in that cup every 2 to 3 days so that it doesn't get stale or stagnant, and it stays nice and clean for the roots to grow. Once you've got enough roots on the plant, which is going to take 3 to 4 weeks, so you have to be a little bit patient with it, you can go ahead and pot the new plant. Once the plant is potted, just make sure that you water it thoroughly, and that's all there is to it. If you have any questions about gardening or lawn care this summer, the A&R staff at the Extension office is always happy to help. Just give us a call, send us an email, or just stop by the office. Thank you for joining us on the Extension Network, and we hope to see you soon at the Cobb County Extension office.
The land-grant university system was created to advance agricultural and mechanical sciences 150 plus years ago. And we realized that some of the research that was coming from out of the land grants, it was not reaching the people. So the Smith-Lever Act was passed 100 years ago. The purpose of that act was to create the Cooperative Extension Service, which was to take the research that was created by the land-grant universities and actually give it to the people who could use it.
And so that was the genesis for the creation of the Extension Service, or the Cooperative Extension Service, as it was called at that time. It was to take the research-based information from the university, from that land-grant school, and get it to the people who need it so that they could use it to improve their lives, their economy, and to improve agriculture.
Well, I lived on a farm until I went off to be in the Navy and to go to college. And my father was a very fine and aggressive farmer. And of course, the source of our advice when Daddy wanted to do something better or learn about a new species of peanut or cotton or corn was to go to the Extension Service. And they gave him whatever advice he needed. And it was just like a constant source of inspiration and advice and counsel, and sometimes correction when he was doing something wrong. And as I grew older and when I came back from the Navy and spent the next 17 years as a full-time farmer, I saw firsthand the great value of what the Extension Service offered to everyone in our county, not just farmers, but everybody in the merchants and others who did business with farmers and depended on agricultural income.
My earliest experience with the Cooperative Extension Service came as a result of joining the 4-H Club when I was probably in a middle school age group. They encouraged us to participate in competitions, and we had to learn our various project areas and make presentations in the local and the district competitions. And also, I began to show livestock as a part of my 4-H project and continued to do that for a number of years. So the Cooperative Extension Service and its supervision of 4-H was an important part of my younger years.
I serve Fulton County. It's a large county. We don't have that many farmers, but we have a lot of people. And we have a lot of families that just simply need help. So Extension brings that human touch to our community. We answer the questions directly. We give it to you in a manner that you can understand and you can use, and you can apply it immediately. So Extension is kind of like that friend next door. You may not talk to them every day, but you're really glad that they're there.
One of the advantages that we have is that we're always on the cutting edge of the newest information, the newest research that's coming out of the University of Georgia. And we are a direct source that our clients can come to find that information. We're a filter for that information, and we are able to explain it in a way that people can use it for practical everyday application, whether it's on the farm, in their families, or in their communities.
An increasingly important element of Georgia's and America's total production of food will have to be designed toward meeting the needs of our own country and other nations more than it has been in the past. So I think the gamut of influence of Extension Service, I don't think has been minimized in recent modern days, but I think the opportunities to expand their influence has been greatly increased now, and I believe in the future.
I think the future for cooperative extension across the nation is very strong, and I know in our state it is.
The simple problems in agriculture have been solved, and they've been solved for the last 100 years or so. Only complex problems remain. Our researchers on our land-grant universities working in multidisciplinary teams will provide solutions for these complex and complicated problems. But how you transfer that information back to the farmer, back to the agribusiness, back to the family or the youth development specialists through 4-H is going to be very different. That's where cooperative extension has always been good. That's what their strength is, and that's where we see them being so important in the future.
We're continuing to see evolution in the production of agricultural products, and I expect that to continue. We will probably have fewer farms, but larger farms. And the Cooperative Extension Service certainly has a role to play in that new structure. They've adapted very well to the changing circumstances and the changing economy of our country over the last 100 years, and I have every reason to believe that they will continue to do that here in Georgia for the next 100 years.
The most rewarding part of my job is being able to help people and provide current research-based information for our clients. They come to us over and over for that information because they see us as the #1 source of information that they can rely upon, whether it's for their farm, their agribusiness, or for their families.
Real life changes. Extension brings real life changes, and being that agent in the community, on the ground, being that agent to serve is a pretty miraculous thing.
In all the ways that I had an early developmental life in earning a living and learning how to live as a productive citizen, I would say the Extension Service had a major beneficial effect on me.
Hi, my name is Lisa Gardner, and I'm from Safe Kids, Cobb County, and I'm here to talk to you about water safety. You never think it could happen to your family, but each year 800 children drown. These incidences are preventable and predictable. I'm here today to talk to you about water safety tips that can keep your children safe around water. Children drown quickly and silently in a matter of seconds. Adults who were present when a child drowns were often distracted in some way by talking on the phone, chatting with other adults around the pool, or reading. What can you do about it? Actively supervise your children around water and have a phone nearby to call for help in an emergency. When there are several adults present and children are swimming, use a water watcher card to designate an adult as the water watcher to prevent gaps in supervision. Water watcher cards help adults actively supervise young swimmers? Active supervision is the first step in preventing a child from drowning in a pool, hot tub, or in open water such as a lake or pond. A Water Watcher card is a physical reminder to the adult holding this card that they are watching the children as they swim. They promise not to engage in any other poolside activities that lead them to lack of supervision. After about 15 minutes or a set amount of time, they pass that card to another adult who then becomes the Water Watcher supervisor. Curious children, especially those younger than 4 years old, can easily find and fall into bodies of water like pools, tubs, and buckets. Often they are discovered too late to save. Never leave a child alone when in or near a body of water, even if it's less than a few inches. For pool owners, make sure your pool has four-sided fencing and a self-closing, self-latching gate. Hot tubs should be covered and locked when not in use. Fencing for pools should completely enclose the pool or spa and prevent direct access from a house or yard. Drowning victims who are rescued from the water need CPR immediately, even before the paramedics arrive. This will help with brain damage and be the difference between life or death. What can you do about this? Get certified. There are plenty of CPR classes available to meet busy schedules. To register for a CPR class through Wellstar, call 770-956-STAR. Children from a non-swimming household are 8 times more likely to drown. So what can you do? Enroll your child in a swim class. If you don't know how to swim, then enroll yourself in a Parent-Child Learn to Swim class. To find swimming lessons, contact your local Parks and Recreation Department by visiting www.cobbcounty.org or go through Wellstar by calling 770-956-STAR. Over 5,000 boating accidents occur each year in open water, such as lakes, rivers, and ocean. Over 700 people drown. Of those people, 9 out of 10 are not wearing a life jacket. What can you do about it? Have your child wear a Coast Guard approved life jacket every time you participate in any type of water activity like swimming and boating. A personal flotation device, life jacket, should fit snugly and not allow the child's chin or ears to slip through the neck opening. Don't rely on inflatable swimming toys such as water wings and inner tubes. They are not safety devices and should never be substituted for personal flotation devices. For more information on water safety and preventing drowning, visit us at www.safekidscobbcounty.org.
I love being out on the water, whether it's, open ocean racing or it's flat water. It's a huge amount of enjoyment for me. I like the competitive elements behind it, but also at the same time, it really allows me to reflect on some of the important things of life. It's amazing how, despite all I've been through, my life will always be defined by one moment, one event. Sure, competing in the 1996 Olympic Games in Atlanta was a defining moment for me. Carrying the American flag and leading my teammates in Sydney to compete again in 2000 was a once-in-a-lifetime experience. And having the opportunity to speak, to teach, and compete since then has been a huge privilege in my life. But all of these experiences lead us back to the fateful day, the day I nearly lost my life in a construction accident. On November 19th, 1986, it was a chilly November morning and a typical workday for me. I was instructed to operate the jackhammer, and I was using this jackhammer for about 15 minutes, and all of a sudden, boom, right there, I ended up hitting 3 unmarked buried high voltage cables. There was such a large amount of electricity that was going through these cables, it actually blasted me out of the hole. I ended up sliding back down into the ditch, and there was the energized jackhammer vertically embedded into the power cables, and my knees essentially got sucked back into the energized jackhammer, and that's when I received my second round of electrical shock. The electricity was just shooting throughout my body, and it was finding all these different weak points. The back of my head, my shoulder blades, and those were some of the exit wounds, along with I had 2 toes that were blown off on my right leg. But most of the damage was to the knee area where it came in contact with the jackhammer for the second time, and I had about 1/3 of the knee compartment that was blown away on both of my knees. I was very fortunate because the firefighters were very close by. My heart had stopped because of the large amount of electricity, and they revived me, and then they ended up transporting me to the hospital. And that's where my mother came, and she can actually see the smoke, which was smoldering from my knee area, and that's when my family knew that I was in a lot of trouble, let alone trying to survive. What can I say about an accident like that? It changed my life. Nobody thought I'd be able to walk again. It took nearly 15 surgeries to rebuild my legs and over 3 years before I was able to take a single step without crutches. It's amazing that by today's standards, a simple call, a bit of paint or colored flags would have made a difference. It would have made the difference between me leaving that site on November 19th, 1986 in an ambulance or on my own 2 feet.
Over the past decades, our underground infrastructure has become increasingly complex and congested. As a result, it becomes a serious issue of safety every time we dig. From simple projects like planting a tree or installing a fence, to extensive excavation that involves entire sidewalks, city streets, or agriculture lands. It is important for anyone, for everyone, to call 811 before they dig. 811 is our national one-call number, connecting excavators with their local communications center wherever they are located. The communications center's job is to notify all facility operators with lines in the vicinity of your intended dig site so that they may respond and mark their lines. Depending on state law, the free call to 811 should be made at least 2 or 3 business days before digging is set to begin, to provide enough time for the area to be marked. Neglecting this important step and choosing to dig without having underground utilities marked is choosing to put your crew and the public at risk.
How are you doing this afternoon?
Good about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for coming out. So, what are we looking at here? Looks like we have a lot of high-tech and low-tech equipment here to be able to mark some of these lines.
Absolutely. We use paint and flags to mark where the lines are at. We use this utility locator to help us identify where the line's at under the ground.
So when somebody calls 811, who calls you to come out to mark?
Well, when you call 811, the facility owner gets notified of where you're digging, and they call us and tell us to go out and mark.
So these flags actually carry a lot of authority and a lot of power. They essentially mark where the underground lines are, and they can ultimately save lives.
Definitely, definitely.
Anyone planning to dig must wait the required amount of time to allow all underground utilities to be marked. If markings are disturbed, vandalized, or otherwise worn away in the time between marking and the completion of your project, the communications center should again be notified so that your site may be remarked accurately. There are many opportunities during an excavation where safety precautions can and should be taken, because most accidents can be avoided.
As a first responder, our primary consideration is always scene safety. And because we want to make sure that we are protecting the victim, and we also want to make sure that we're protecting the public. We can't stress enough the importance of dialing 811 before digging. It's the law.
Every excavator has the ability to lead by example, to practice safe digging habits, and remain dedicated to the goal of 0 accidents on your dig site.
Hi, Cliff.
Hi, Megan. How you doing?
I'm good. Looks like you've got a project here.
Yeah, we do. So what does an excavator need to know in the event that they do damage to a utility?
First thing you need to think is communication. And if should it be a gas line, your first step needs to be to dial 911. And after the authorities have secured the scene, call 811. And for other non-emergency damages, even little things like scrapes and dents and scratches can cause big issues down the road. So always call 811 and the facility owner.
So what is the best tip for an excavator if they're going to go ahead and excavate on a site?
Keep in mind those fundamental steps. Call 811 before you dig. Give that locate technician the time to come out and mark underground lines. Then respect the flags and the marks on the ground. And when you do need to dig, if you need to come close to where those marks are within the tolerance zone, don't use mechanized equipment. Use hand tools. You've got to dig safely out there.
Safety, that's the most important thing. And you know, it's not just the employee out on the job site, it's the loved ones at home. That's where it's affected mostly. 25 years ago, when I was involved in my accident, you could see the power of the utility as it blew through my boot. So important to be able to go to work and come home in the same condition.
Couldn't agree more. Safety needs to be our top priority.
A handful of simple steps can help make your excavation site accident-free, protecting the public and your excavation crew from injuries and worse.
Calling 811 or submitting an online locate request through your communication center's website is the first step. Waiting to have your site located and making sure the marks are intact and accurate before you dig comes next. And finally, digging carefully with respect for the marks and the underground utilities is critical. It doesn't matter what equipment you are digging with, be it a backhoe, horizontal directional drill, jackhammer, or even simply a hand shovel. Care must be taken, especially within the tolerance zone, because accidents can happen to anyone.
We're never prepared for a traumatic experience. And I learned that, you know what? I can only be the best person that I can be. So I'm going to have to put 100% energy into my rehab process. So each and every step was very difficult, but I had to learn and I had to believe. I didn't even know if I was ever going to be able to walk again, and going to being able to have this honor of representing my country 2 times in the Olympic Games and carrying that flag. You know, how does that correlate between the two? It all goes down to belief. You got to believe in yourself. It's that hard work. It's that determination. It's being able to go out there and build on your foundation. We've got to be able to set those goals, and going out there and being that best person that you can be, that's how you're going to achieve your goal. And you got to believe in it. You got to have faith.
An accident-free dig site is our goal. Dedication to the goal of safe digging is a shared responsibility between the excavator, the locator, the facility operators, and the communication centers that connect them.
Worksite incidents are a traumatic experience not only for the individual or the victim per se, but also for the co-workers and the family. Having a new family member in my life, a beautiful daughter, it really hits home hard. It's just so important to be able to come home in the same condition that you came to work. We never know what we're going to face tomorrow in our lives. Perfect practice makes perfect. It applies like that in sport. You always have to go out there and work on your fundamentals. The same applies when you're out on the work site. Practicing safety, you have to do that every day.
You are choosing to be a hero every time you take the steps to have your dig site accurately marked, keeping your crew and the public safe. Because safe digging is often as simple as knowing what's below. Be a hero. Respect the flags. Brought to you by Georgia 811.
This is the story of a boy who didn't talk for a long time. The boy liked things to always be the same. Any changes would scare and upset him. The unknown was an unfriendly place. The boy was very sensitive to lights and sounds. So he built secret hiding places where they couldn't get in. The boy didn't like looking people in the eye. He wasn't trying to be mean, it just made him feel uncomfortable. Sometimes he would flap his arms again and again.
One day I found out I have something called autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I found my voice and learned all the ways I could live with it better.
Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org.